Mornings with Marie Lennon.
BBC Wiltshire.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning. Welcome to the programme. If you're just joining us, you are with BBC Wiltshire. We are collecting the Wiltshire accent today. Also, meeting Brian Avery. He spent the last 2 years travelling the world, and I do mean the world. He's just got back into the county, settled back into normal life, potentially. We'll find out what his experiences were like and what it was like to be a volunteer at the Rio Games.
Your voice in your county.
Call 03459.
There's Billy Ocean. Get out of my dreams, get into my car. So it's one message to take away from the programme. It's 10:10. You are with BBC Wiltshire. A summer of sport is now behind us. You've heard from some of Wiltshire's medal-winning athletes in the Paralympic and Olympic Games in Rio. But those games, just like London 2012, were made possible by an army of volunteers. They became known as games makers, and one of them was Brian Avery from Swindon. After a huge journey around the world, you're back in Wiltshire now. Are you now used to being back home? Is it settled in?
Not quite, no. It's been a bit of whirlwind since I've been back last Thursday, getting my house sorted out, seeing friends, arranging to go and see them. But yes, I've spent the last 27 months travelling and ending up in Rio for the Olympics.
Tell me what that was like, being in Rio at that time. What was the city like?
We actually got to Rio about a month early, so we can settle in and get used to things, speak to the games makers that are coming from London and helping them with regards to allaying their fears with regards to the Zika virus and the violence in the city and so forth. It's like any big city, you have to be careful. So, but the build-up, the slow build-up, everything, the street signs, the atmosphere, the people involved in the Olympics was just an electrifying feeling, really.
Why did you want to be a volunteer at the Games?
I was a volunteer at the Paralympics in London. In the opening ceremony, and the atmosphere you got from just the volunteers and the willingness to help people was just amazing. And as soon as that finished, I went onto the Rio volunteer website and signed up all those years ago.
And fitting that you were in the aquatic centre for some of it. Tell me what you were doing.
So I was one of the games makers working on the pool side, looking after the athletes, making sure they're okay, showing them where to go, if they needed anything. So generally just chatting to them, making sure they're okay. So yeah, got to meet some amazing athletes, all the way from like small islands from Guam, the Philippines, all the way up to like the Michael Phelps. So it was just an amazing experience to be near them all the time and to be able to. And there were normal people. And they're very, very lovely people as well, to be able to chat to them and talk about their experience, and both before and after the event too. Were
they all very different in terms of how they were behaving and acting before and after? Or were there similarities in how they all prepared for their races?
They're all very, very different. I remember, but one clear thing I remember was Adam PT. About 2 days before his heats, he was so focused. I've never seen somebody so focused in all my life. He just ignored everything around him. Walked up to the blocks, put his goggles on, stood on the blocks, and then his trainer then blew the whistle, and he was off like a shot. It was so amazing to watch somebody so focused.
Yeah, I know you said that you wanted to go on this journey, but also take part in the Rio Games to get a sense of how friendship works around the world and to make those connections with people from different cultures. Do you feel that you really did experience that?
Yeah, so especially in Rio, there were a lot of Brazilians there because it's their home city. You did have a lot of people from Russia, from Spain, from North America, from all around the world really, and all coming together, all having the same experience and there to enjoy themselves and be happy.
And of course, you were involved in the London 2012 Paralympic Games. How do you now feel about just the Olympic movement, having seen it again in Rio?
There's a lot of things you don't see that happen behind the scenes that you don't see on telly. It's very different, I suppose. You get a very different perspective. The pressure on, I suppose, the team coaches is more so than the athletes, because the team coaches are trying to keep the athletes calm and relaxed and getting ready for the races. But the anguish and frustration comes out on all the team coaches with the volunteers.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you're right. You don't see that, but that relationship must be so interesting at that time of pressure. Really, really interesting. So this was part of a whole journey. 27 months, as you said, that you were away with your partner Jodie. So
That's right, yes.
tell me why you wanted to go on this huge trip.
Well, about 6 or 7 years ago, Jodie and I went travelling for a year. Around the world, and we had a round the world ticket, and what we found was we enjoyed it, but the more you go travelling, the more you find out, the more you want to see, and the issue we had, well, not the issue, but when we got back, we realised that a year wasn't long enough. So we started planning for it again, saved as much money as we could, planned everything, got everything sorted out, with regards to our finances, our house, everything. Then we thought, well, this trip, we'll just go away, we've got a pot of money, and we'll just see where it takes us.
So how much did you plan before you went?
With regards to where we were going, or...
Yeah, so did you know what your destinations would be?
Destinations as in North America, South America, Asia.
Really?
That was almost it. Yes, yeah. The first part of the year was really backtracking over where we'd been before and the bits that we missed. So now we can say we've completely done India. We spent a total of 4 months in India. Wow. We spent 5 months in Thailand. So it's a case of when we turned up somewhere, if we liked it, we stayed. We stayed for a long period of time.
I suppose you can see life in a different way rather than going somewhere for 2 weeks, even a month. When you're really involved in day-to-day life over a 4-month period, you get to see so much more. You
do, yeah. You get to see more of the culture, more of the local people and how it really works. It's like going to Rio, for example. People tend to go there, they see Christ de Rima, they see Sugarloaf, and they see all the touristy bits. But when you're there for 2 or 3 months, you get to see with regards to what the people are like and how the city really works and all the corruption that goes on behind the scenes, and it's very eye-opening. Very, very eye-opening.
I mean, this is probably impossible, but are there favourite places that you really, really loved?
Many people sort of ask us this question, and everywhere we go, there's something nice about the country. We try and split our favourite places into 3 categories. One is people, where the people are genuinely nice to you, because most people that come up to you tend to, tourists, travellers, we need their money, get their money.
Selfie sticks, I imagine you've been sold quite a few.
Loads, yes. All the latest gadgets and everything. So people is one aspect of it. Another aspect is food. Wherever you go around the world, if you're enjoying the food, you're going to enjoy the country. And the third part is the natural habitat, what it's like, what the natural beauties of the world. And 3 countries spring to mind. One is Nepal. You can't beat the Himalayas for mountains. The people are lovely. The food is very Indian. I love Indian food. So Sri Lanka is very, very similar. It's a small country, very, very compact, and it's like a mini India. It really is like a mini India. And I suppose the favourite country that tops out all of them is Peru. Most people reference Peru into Machu Picchu and all the Inca side, but there's so much more in Peru that you can see in the northern part, and they've got such a wide variety of culture. The people are lovely, the food's lovely, and it's very cheap as well, we found.
And Peru is very important because it was out there that you were teaching children how to swim.
It was, yes. I was working for a local NGO charity called Dr. Crossfit Network, and what they did was they had a youth programme, and as part of that youth programme, I basically applied to be a swimming teacher there. And while I was there, we were teaching children to swim in the sea, and there for 2 months. And by the end of it, we actually managed to get the teenagers to start teaching the young children to swim, and it was such a wonderful experience to be able to see what you had taught the children, that they were then taking it on to the younger generation to pass it on. And
yeah, I can imagine for you and Jodie as well to see other people get joy from the water, just like you both have. Very much so, yes, yeah. And I love water. I do a lot of long distance swimming. I do a lot of cold water swimming with the Cows group up at the Cotswold Water Park. So my passion is swimming, and because I enjoy it so much, my passion goes over, my joy goes over to other people, and the children that were in Peru and Huanchaco.
they loved to swim, but they couldn't swim, and they needed someone just to take them the extra little stage, because they had the confidence to be in the water and everything, but they didn't know how to swim. But by the end of it, they were so pleased to be able to do it. So much so that I'm going back in January to help another group of people out there.
I was just going to ask, actually. I imagine that the bug for travelling and meeting people and seeing that has not gone away.
It hasn't, no. And as part of it, what I've done is, because I enjoy swimming, and I could see there was a need to be able to teach children in deprived areas to swim. And myself and my friend Dina, we set up a charity called Teicher. And that charity is to try and get swimming teachers, lifeguards, people that are passionate about open water swimming, and to teach people to be able to teach young children to swim in these deprived areas around the world. And we're trying to get as many teachers as we can, lifeguards, out to these places to take like a busman's holiday.
So we'll keep following that, swimteicher.org for all the details, and that's Teicher spelled Tayka. I thought you would be just relaxing now and trying to get back to some sense of a normal time zone and reality, but the work definitely continues. I also wonder, I don't want to be negative, but there must have been some difficult times out for 27 months. Just logistically, was it quite tough?
It's actually very hard to keep travelling all the time, because you're living out of a suitcase. You're moving on every 2 or 3 days. The upshot is the fact that every 2 or 3 days you see something wonderful.
Yeah.
But you're constantly moving all the time. And I always remember when we'd just been in Tibet, just seen Everest for the very first time, and 2 or 3 days later we're in Kathmandu in Nepal, and suddenly we stopped and went, 2 or 3 days ago we were in Everest, but we've moved on to Kathmandu now, and there's the it's trying to take it all in. We write a blog, keep the blog going, take video diaries, just so we can keep up to date and make sure we can remember everything we've done over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, what an amazing journey. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to me about it. Keep us in touch with Swim Teicher and we'll keep following the progress. Brian Avery from Swindon, after 27 months out on the road around the world, he's now back in the county.